chérie, maman. Ebaniwa, maman. Oh, mama yeah, mama yeah, mama yeah, yeah. Oh, mama yeah, yeah. Woman, child, woman. I set your eyes for understanding. So much second-hand pain. Now is our turn to break the chain. We will break that chain. Oh, mama yeah, mama yeah, mama yeah, yeah. Oh, mama yeah, yeah. Oh, mama yeah, mama yeah, mama yeah, yeah. Oh, mama yeah, yeah. Lost and found in this cruel wasteland, wondering where is our innocence, protector, traitor, mother, all is forgiven. Yes, it's our turn to make a change. I will make a change. Oh, mama yeah, mama yeah, mama yeah, yeah.
Welcome to Afrobeat Radio, Wunmi.
Thanks for having me, Wee. Thank you so much.
First of all, let's tell our listeners, where are you from?
Well, I am a Niger English girl, or should I say British African. Born in England, raised in Nigeria. I am one in this world.
That's very true. And also, you have a heritage. I know you don't like to talk about this, but you do have a heritage, and that's very important.
My name is Ibiumi Omotayo Olufunke Felicity Olaiya. I am the great niece of Uncle Victor Olaiya.
Who is actually a very wonderful musician,
Amazing.
a great trumpeter,
Yes,
and a high life exponent. Actually, one of the high life kings
from Nigeria.
from Nigeria. In what ways does his music touch on what you're doing?
I think it's, for me, it's the spirit. When I was sent home to Nigeria at the age of 4, I lived in Tunumbu Square, and that's where the family house is, right in the middle. It's like Trafalgar Square to those who know London. And my Uncle Victor, had a store right there underneath. I used to go down there and just mess with everything. I mean, literally, I used to go there. It was like my toy ground. And the first song I heard of his was Omo Pupa. I didn't learn Yoruba till later on, and I felt that song was written for me. As I used to sing it, Omo Pupa, ooh. And I love the melody, the sweetness of it. And I think as I got into music, it's the whole idea of something that's sweet. He just had a sweetness with the way he sang in all the various languages from Nigeria. He didn't just sing Yoruba, just like his wives. He was not selfish at all.
In many ways, you are his daughter. I mean, according to Yoruba tradition,
Yes,
you're indeed his daughter.
for sure. When I go home, I feel like I've gone home to my dad.
What inspires your music?
Love of Africa. Just, it's a funny thing. My album is called ALA, which stands for African Living Abroad. It comes from a place of finally knowing who you are and not fighting that. It's that clarity of this place that is safe. Despite all the news and all the things they say, it's a place that is warm, inviting, has all the beautiful things that I remember now that I didn't appreciate as a kid because I had this illusion that where I was born was where I was supposed to be. Not realizing that all the time I was in paradise. Even now, there are people in Africa who do not realize that they are in paradise. But unfortunately, in paradise, there are also scary monsters in it. And it's trying to navigate that. But with all that said and done, my inspiration for my music is to inspire others to really find a way to make this paradise not just a dream.
Talking about inspiration, in that album Early, there is a track that talks about a tree is not a tree without its roots. And I think you're referring to African roots like a tree.
Yes.
Talk about that briefly.
Well, I was in this thing, there's so many of us, and I say of us, Africans born abroad. And you may be unfortunately not to be given a language. Maybe you're given a name, and you know the dish, you eat the food. And then, as you get older, you start to ask questions. Who am I? You're not this, you're not that. And that's the whole thing. And then the other people who try to define you and tell you because you don't speak the language or you do not do it the traditional way, you're not this, you're not that. And then in the process of my songwriting and my journey to self and me defining myself, I was like, okay, hold on a second. When you take a tree from wherever you take it and you plant it somewhere else, does it become something other than a tree that it was when you took it from where you took it from?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yes. Politics.
You got to go there. You just had to go there.
Yeah, I mean, every time I speak to you, we end up talking politics.
Yes, because life is politicking.
Because life is those, yes.
Yes,
absolutely.
it is.
Absolutely. You also have a track that talks about sitting on the fence, telling me
Telling you
nonsense.
nonsense.
Not living in the past, but I'm rough and funky.
Rugged. And
This is
funky.
Afrobeat at its best, politics and music. How did you come about that?
Fela Nikolapo Kuti. You know what's the funny thing? I never got to see him in Nigeria, but I saw him in London. I was this child, and everyone who know me now, my uncles, my dad's brothers, and they said I was who I am now back when I was a kid. I came to Nigeria, as I said, at the age of 4, and all I wanted to do at that point as I grew older was dance. I just had to dance. My older cousins introduced me to music, aside of my uncle's music that I was listening to. And one music that they played, the youths in the day would play Fela. The other music that was coming straight from Jamaica. Mighty Diamond, Bob Marley, Wailers. I mean, all the conscious music was constantly being played. Melodies were sweet, vocals were sweet, but one thing that kept hitting me was the words, what they were saying. Words are magical. Fela said it, music is power. And that's why I feel to a large extent, you could take any music anywhere. Nobody understands the language, but somehow they understand the power of what is coming through that music. And as a kid, growing up as a girl, that's whole thing about how you can inspire people. To be honest, again, one thing that was interesting about Fela, that though he was very clear about his politics, he wasn't hitting you over the head with the way he was actually bringing the music on. Lyric-wise, it was funny. You laughed. I think most of the time you laughed. You sang along, then afterwards the words were ringing in your head and you said, hold on a second. And slowly and gently, you hear it. Zombie was, for example, it's so satirical. You couldn't help. As soon as you said the word zombie, you see other images that he created in the song. And that's the power of music. And so for me, as I actually dared to go into music, because it wasn't something I actually was trying to do, I was running from music for many years.
I see also that you have that beautiful song, Some Old Leaders, which when I hear that, it does remind me of Fela Kuti in many ways.
Same old leaders.
Yes, fighting and railing against corruption.
Yes.
How did that song come to be, and who exactly are you talking to?
Well, you see, when I came back to England, I grew up with my dad. My dad raised me. Our favorite pastime is sitting and talking. And without fail, it's always about Nigeria, Africa, issues, And I'm a deep thinker, I guess. Sometimes I think I'm too passionate. So I passion, caring, loving, believing, those are things that each one of us are actually given. How we use it, how it moves us, depends on each individual. For me, music became an outlet, because if I didn't have this outlet, I can't imagine what I would do. To become a politician is just like that means you have to join that world that seems not to care or listen. I mean, there's people who go in there with good intention, but it's so heavy that somehow you get turned around. With music, I don't have to join them, but I can speak, I can share, I could inspire people to step back and think more about what exactly it is what we want. What do we want? I mean, do we just want to be spoon-fed? I was in Germany working with Truby Trio. I had started doing all these collaborations where I would do a tune for you, then you do a tune for me. That's how I put my album together. You know, when you're an independent artist, you find ways to make the next step happen. So in this scenario, my conversation with my dad, we go over issues and clear things, and it's amazing. I felt like he became my next teacher. You know, fella has that song, who be teacher? You know, our parents are supposed to teach. That's the whole thing. I mean, you learn from the outsiders, but it's so important that you could hear your parents' voice. And with him, it was like watching those programs on TV where you have a serious, honest discussion where you could express your thoughts in your mind. So in these conversations, we always talk about leaders. We went back as far back as when he was a kid in Nigeria to the present time. And it just was like, God, jeez, when will it change? When will we flip that coin? And when we have moments where it looked like the coin will be flipped, unfortunately, you'll have a coup.
Let's listen to SOL.
Same old leaders. What John you?
Them holding it, same like before. They chopping it, same like before. Them stealing it, same like before. And these new leaders say they'll really make a change. Plenty for all, not just for some. But the truth is, so much like the old. Many still marginalized, defranchised, alienation everywhere. So much sorrow in this land of plenty. Resources bountiful, but only in few hands. Same dodgy leaders pump their belly full. They say them working hard, need more time. But guess who's nyash is spreading wide?
Your music is such an eclectic mix of styles and reinterpretations. Can you speak about some of the artists that have influenced you?
Growing up in Nigeria, obviously, as I said, fella, and I could not believe, as anyone had told me, I honestly, and I'm saying this, that I would have covered 2 of his songs in mine, that I would even be doing music, I would have laughed at their face. So when I got a call from Masters at Work, that's Louis Vega and Kenny Dope, to come and do a voice for their tribute to Fela, the first thing I said was, I wasn't available. I wasn't available. I thought somebody was pulling my leg. I thought it was a prank, basically. And it wasn't. It was real. They wanted me to come, and they heard from somebody else to check me out. And I remember going in with my crew, my Yoruba tight-ass crew, Kunle Ade, Foli Folonsho Kalade, that's the head leader from Masiko, and Sheyi and Abiola, backup singers. And we went in. I guess in the end, I realized that they thought I was just going to come in and give them the backup, sing the hooks. But I went in there, they put me in the booth, I sang it. You could see everybody just staring at me like, wow. It was one take. That was the tribute, more expensive tribute to Fela. And from that, I ended up going back in and do 2 more songs with them. And it was an amazing journey. And then came the Red Hot and Riot tribute to Fela. And Bugs and the Attic, the crew, Broken Beat crew from England, chased me down. They were determined that I was going to do this with them. And again, I didn't act zombie, me? Come on. But it was just, again, it was all tongue-in-cheek for me. It was from that place of loving the song to death and going in behind in the booth and doing it from that place of what it meant to me. You know, like as a kid, I literally did it the way I would do it when you play Fela's music and I'm singing along with that same passion, that same fun, that understanding of how it's just what it is. So that's been my journey. And then growing up in England, come on, who doesn't love Police? I loved Police. Part of my whole, I guess, the fusion of music for me, it's that whole quirkiness. But the British music, that they're open to quirkiness. You have the freedom to move music how you want to. And as a dancer, nothing inspires me more than the unexpected twist to the sound. When you're thinking it's going left and it goes right and then it dips down and it comes back up. That's a movement. That's a dance.
I want to come back to dance because I actually have seen you do the dance that you created. Well, that you collaborated in creating. But before we go into dance, I want to stick one final question on politics. The 2 albums that you have set a tone where they talk about real life issues,
Yes.
you know, such as war, you know, refugee situations, consumerism, and corruption. And then you have this song about illegal aliens. Can you explain to the listening audience why and how those songs came to be and why they're so important to you.
You'd be amazed how many of us are illegal, not by choice. No one comes to America to be illegal. No, because you come from a land where there is love. It's just that economical circumstances take you somewhere else. And what you go there to do, you're hoping you could go there to find a way to do back and forth. But then you get to where you go, as the song says, with this idea that you could do something, till you realize that you're stuck. And then in that state of place, you can't stay, but yet you can't leave. You want to dream, your dream goes so far and you hold it because you're like, tomorrow could be the day you're deported. It's like, again, that actually song came about because of a song by Sting, which he celebrates being an illegal alien. But then, he's an Oyinbo guy. He can celebrate that. An African or anyone else from the third world, as they coin it, cannot come to America and celebrate being an illegal alien. There's nothing to celebrate about that. And so for me, it was kind of like turning that song around and saying, look at it from the real illegal alien eye. A lot of my friends, when I do my shows, because part of my show, my performance is real life. I rehearse with the band, so the music, we know what we're going to play, but actually the performance itself is so spontaneous. I use the energy from the audience. And so basically my band has to watch me because they never know I might switch direction, just like the whole thing. So we used to have this thing when the conversation would go wild. Don't I beg you, don't mention my name because you don't know who's out there, and it was a joke, but it was just like the whole thing really is about fella. We're laughing, but we know it's to the bone. It's so to the bone. So that song had to be done. Illegal alien, can't stay, can't leave, no peace of mind. It cuts to the bone.
Illegal alien, can't stay, can't leave, no place to hide. Illegal alien.
Brand new day comes rolling on me. A fresh new start in a foreign world. Hustling, rushing, dreams to fulfill. Calculating, anticipating, anxiety. Running scared with nowhere to hide. One man's joy, another man's pain. Tribulation, suffocation, crying.
Can't stay, can't leave, no peace of mind. Illegal alien, can't stay, can't leave, no place to hide. Illegal alien.
For so long, everything seems right. Suddenly, nothing.
There are many sides of you.
Yes.
and I mean, there are many sides to you. And one of the things that you also do well, apart from dancing, is that you're a costume designer.
I designed. Yeah,
And you actually won an award, the Best Year Award
Yes,
for costume designing.
Yes, and
Talk about your collaboration with Alvin Ailey. I've always been excited to know more about that.
I've got to give that to my brother from another mother, Kevin Ronald Brown. He's an African American, absolutely amazing choreographer. We met. He's one of the first people I was introduced to him through another amazing sister, Melise Yerby. Believing is important. Believing is so important. I'm sitting in front of you, and I'm going to say this again. Believing is the one important thing every human must carry. Even when you're thinking there's nothing, even when it crosses your mind when you think there's nothing, just pull up that belief slip again and hold it. Hold it. I came to New York with this intention to find out what it was about music that was chasing me. Because like I said, I was running. In the process of arrival, I fell into a world of, I'll call it the dance performance world, Rat Pack. Carl Hancock Rocks, Chrislyn Wright, Melise Yerby, Nia Love, Ron Brown. There's other names that I haven't pulled up. They were all in this. And it was amazing. This is this Nigerian English girl who just loved to dance and has this thing that keeps calling her to sing. I went to all their performances. I supported them. I used to go there and just be inspired by them. Melissa Yabi knew what I do. I didn't tell anybody else. I used to hide that. She brought me into their world. And one day, I had a situation where I needed help, and Ron came to my rescue. In exchange, I said, let me do costume for you. And that's how we started. It's over 15 years now. I designed one, I designed two, and the next thing, as he blew up, he took me with him. On his first commission with Ailey, he said to them, I have my designer. I don't tell nobody I do this. My students who I started teaching when I was teaching at the school called St. Anne's found out just by accident, because they went in and they opened the program. They're like, the name is, that's our teachers. So they will come back to class and say, Miss Wunmi, you didn't tell us you designed. I don't know. I did not share it, not because I don't think I deserve it. It's just a blessing. It's a gift that came that I just, like, you hold on to that gift. Music came to me, unlike the dance and the fashion that I just did. Music was something that chased me, like, you were supposed to do this. And I did not think I had the courage or the stature to carry it like it needed to be carried. You know, like, I admire people like Fela and Bob Marley. They carried something that they had to do. I don't see myself in there like I am musically in that sense of power. So for me, I had to ramata into it, I would say. I had to glide it. I grew into this Wunmi girl, the Wunmi music girl, through my fashion and the dance. But each time I got inspired, I was inspired to step further into the music so I could give back that inspiration.
So we could say that you are a multifaceted artist.
I am a living being sharing her blessings.
Fantastic. You are actually going to Alvin Ailey today.
Yes.
To meet with
Miss Judith Jamison.
Please give her our love to her.
I sure will.
And our greatest regards to her.
It's amazing. She's celebrating her 20 years with running Ailey.
Yes.
And the amazing work she's done. And more than just the work, you know, as an African woman, the power we wield or do not wield, it's really kind of like that sense. It's a tree. It's the metaphor, as you could see, my metaphor of life is a tree. A tree stands there. And you think it's just a tree, but it's also a shield.
Well, I have news for you, Wunmi.
Yes.
As an African man, I'm very, very inspired by Judith Jameson.
Really?
And please give Afrobeat Radio's regards. Regards for
I'm
Afrobeat
definitely
Radio.
going to make sure she hears about it.
And hopefully she'll be our guest one day.
Hey, I'm going to also tell her that you said that too, because she loves to spread the gift that is Ailey.
Yeah, for 20 years I've been in this country. She has been one artist that I've always wanted to meet. You know, I've met her a couple of times.
Yes.
So say hello to her.
Yes.
But she's truly an inspiration. And Alvin Ailey, for me, is one of the inspirational institutions that we have as
well, you know that
African people. I don't even see them as an American institution.
Yes.
I see them as an African institution.
They are the ambassadors of art, if
Yes,
I'm right.
Yes, absolutely.
And, you know, when I said the word tree, Miss Judy Jameson is one of those special trees.
Yes.
Standing tall.
Yes. Very beautiful, very proud woman.
Yes.
Very regal.
And still very generous and humble, you know. I'm in awe of myself. I remember when I first met her and now going to meet with her again. During this process with this new ballet that Ron has placed on them called Dancing Spirit, which is in her honor as well. Creating that costume was just like another, like who it's for, what it's about. It's pinch me. Believing.
1, 2, 3, 4. Shuffling your foot, busting your spit, working the floor. All on a good foot, Charlie. Climbing the walls, busting your locks, wrecking the floor. Say what? On a good foot, Charlie. Flexing your moves, holding it down, flashing the pan. On a good foot, Charlie. Dipping and diving, slipping and sliding, dusting the floor. Stay on a good foot, Charlie. 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 You say you'll show me some moves. You know, come on now. Queen starting. The bass is thumping, get loose. Say you're gonna dance.
What do you have coming up?
Well, I am actually going to the next chapter in my musical career. I came to America to find my voice, and in the journey, I now realized that I now have to go back home to open. I
The
wouldn't
new
say the
chapter.
complete,
Right.
yes, the new chapter, because it's still an ongoing journey. I went to Ghana and I got inspired. You know, being an independent artist, you have this constant battle of trying to figure out how to maintain, how to keep your career and your love and your energy going against all the stuff that you have to do, which is business. They call it the music business. You know, when you're not mainstream, you are now having to do with a whole lot more reality in more ways than one. You know, you get to define yourself, but you also have the reality that how you fund the process. Through a really amazing woman who I call my fairy godmother, I have to give her props, Chaz. She basically introduced me to this company, an online company that helps artists and people with ideas. It's like an online medium where you could organize it so people could support you by sponsoring you. It's like a pledge. And basically, I went on there and I couldn't believe the amazing work and what is being done. And so I finally got brave enough to say, I will do this. My next album is going to be recorded in Ghana. Why Ghana? It's a place that has proven what I believe, that we can make a change. Africa, Nigeria, my home from home, that believe in going and doing what you want. Ghana represents that for me. And I have met musicians. One of my musical director is Ghanaian. He said, "Wunmi, you got to come home. You got to come home and come and record this next album." My first album was recorded all over the world, but I never recorded in Africa. So this time I'm going. And I'm going to do this. To do this album, I have to hire a studio. They're musicians. I don't want to go in there and just take. I truly am a believer in giving. In giving, so shall you receive.
So, what's your last word for the young artists out there, for people who are listening to us? What would you like to say to them?
Yes, you can.
Thank you. It's been Wunmi Olaya, Wunmi Girl.